Okay, so we are live. So you can go to the Facebook page. And let me know when you get there. Were you able to share? Oh, perfect. You fast.
Yeah.
I'm going to share myself. So welcome everybody. Come on in. We're going to get started here in literally 1 minute. So
Right.
perfect. Okay, I have posted. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. It is exactly 7:00 p.m. Central Standard Time. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Well, for those of you who do not know, my name is Meagan Pinkney, and I am founder and CEO of Joseph's Ministry, LLC. And I have the honor and the privilege to be with one of our first authors, maybe 8 years ago, Dante Scott. So welcome, Dante. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Man, it's been 8 years, really?
Yes.
That's
Well,
pretty
I
awesome.
say 8 years when we started the company, but you were around that time though, not shortly
Yeah.
a couple of years after that. So
Yeah.
no, welcome. So how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good. Blessed. Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, so thank you
Excited
so
to be
much
here.
for joining us on today. So before we dive into the actual interview, I want you to introduce yourself, tell the people about who you are and some of the amazing things that you have going on in your world.
Okay. Well, as she said, my name is Dante Scott. I'm newly married. Woo. 6
Yay.
months this month. So that's definitely exciting.
Yes.
I'm a mother of 4, 3 girls. I have a son. I'm a brand new grandma, soon to be grandma times 2. My oldest is due in April, so that's exciting too.
Yes.
I newly launched my nonprofit, which is Not Perfect, Just Purpose. And it is basically focused on mental health advocacy, awareness, suicide prevention and awareness. And so the goal is for me to be able to speak to as many groups, people as possible to let them know that mental health is it's a necessary part of life because everything that we do is mental health, and to make it not be such a taboo topic with African Americans, with African American women, with Christians, and that all kind of fits into who I am, and all of this, and which my first book is how all of this came about. So I'm grateful, to God for all that He has done and how He can take um, some of the awful things, some of the tragic, traumatic things that happen in our life, and He can do some magnificent things with it. And Not Perfect, Just Purpose really just kind of sums it up. I'm not perfect. I'm flawed. My life is flawed. I've had some awful things happen. I've experienced some things. I've done some things. And yet and still in all of that, God still has a purpose for my life. And so that's kind of what's happening. Like I said, I just launched. So we had our first workshop a couple of weeks ago, our very first mental health workshop. That was absolutely amazing. We had a great time. At the end of this month, I'm actually doing an online webinar. We're going to talk about forgiveness and how that is so vital in the process of healing mentally and getting your head right.
Yeah.
So I've got that coming up at the end of this month. I'll be speaking tomorrow night as a panelist for a forum for a video film that was done called From Selma to Stonewall. It's an amazing film. I've watched it. We'll be watching it together, and then the panelists will be discussing it. So I have that opportunity. So God is just opening so many doors and doing so many things. So that's just a little bit of what's happening in Dunge's life.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and congratulations for everything that's going on. It's all good and it's all positive. So diving into the interview. So I know you started your book journey with Joseph's ministry, and you have just launched from there. So tell the people the name of all of your books and kind of a little bit of brief synopsis of what they're about.
Okay. So my first book, Christian and in Crisis, Let's Just Tell the Truth. It is really about my own personal mental health journey. In 2013, I attempted suicide. I attempted to take my life. And part of the process of me healing was doing some journaling and writing and trying to get my thoughts and clear my head. And in the process of that, God laid it on my heart to turn that into a book, to share that, which was really scary because God used the word transparent with me. Like he wanted me to tell my truth. I remember us going through the titles a couple of times, like that still doesn't encompass everything in it. And so just saying that, no, I've got to talk about it. I've got to tell the truth about what it was that got me to being in such a dark place as an African-American Christian woman, and to be at a place where I don't have any hope. Like I don't want to wake up tomorrow. And that was a big thing. And so the goal was really to just finish it, to start it, to do it, and to finish it. Took me 5 years to to finally finish, to finish the book, and to even present it to you like, hey, Meagan, like help me with this, but the process itself was 5 years because things were triggered, things that I thought I had dealt with and then came up in the process of writing this book. So me and God, like, now we need some time. We need some time before we get back to this. And so, but being able to finish this first book was a big deal because I have a terrible procrastination disease. And so to be able to start a project that was taking me 5 years, but to get to the finish line, that was absolutely amazing. And in doing that, I was like, you know what? I kind of enjoyed that. Like, I kind of, like, the process was hard and it went through some things, but I really enjoyed telling that story. And so that inspired the next book. And so the next book that came about was Choices, Lord Have Mercy. And so Choices is inspirational fiction. So the characters are made up, but a lot of the story are things that I personally have experienced. Of course, it's, exaggerated some because it's a story. But a lot of those experiences are personal experiences, things that I've experienced with my family, things that I have experienced with friends. And so that book was so enjoyable. It was like, okay, well, we need to break that up. Like there's some more to that story. So Choose Mercy is book 2 in the series. Because there's a third one in the works to come behind that. So I really enjoy it and found I'm pretty good at telling stories and putting those things together. And I just love making it relatable. Like my books are books that you read as if we're having a conversation. And so that's really what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be relatable. I wanted people to be able to see themselves in all of the books. of course, the first one was more of, like I said, a personal testimony, but I wanted it to be relatable. I wanted people to be able to see that you're not alone. Other people experience this. This is real. Yes, Black people get depressed. Yes, Christians get depressed. And there are things that God has in place when that happens.
Right.
And then to write the other books was to say, you know what, out of such ugliness can come such beauty if you just allow God to walk you through the process. And from those is how Not Perfect, Just Purpose started, because in that God gave me the do the work, which is what I do every day, is what anyone who has ever experienced any sort of mental health issue, you have to do your part of the work. You know, you can have doctors, you can have medication, but there are necessary steps that you take individually in order to get to a better place in your mind, in your body, and in your spirit. And all of those things have to be worked on in order to be made whole. And that's the whole point of it all. So that's just kind of, yeah.
No, I love it. And I'm just so proud of you from the very first conversation that we had prior to us releasing your first book, and to see where you are now is nothing short, but I don't want to say a miracle, but I'm just encouraged. And I hope that people watching live and even on the replay really catch your journey of progression, from being like procrastinating. It took you 5 years to even, from my understanding, reach out to us to publish the book, and then having the process of actually going through the publishing process. But you said something while you were talking, and I often tell people this when they're writing their memoirs or personal testimonial books, which is, I am 100% for that from a person who has 5 of doing the same thing. It is so important for you to be healed and walk through that healing process before you actually publish the book. I think from my experience, books are like music. You can feel things, it makes you go high when you're listening to music. It can make you go low when you listen to music. So the same thing with words on a page. They're very powerful. And I tell people, being so dramatic, but if you're not healed, you're going to bleed on your words, and you're essentially bleeding on people, and you don't want to do that. So you want to make sure that you're healed prior to, and you can be healed during the process, during the writing process, but at the end of the day, you want to be healed before you actually release the words to your story. Because in my opinion, you're writing the story not just for the sake of writing your story, but so that someone else on the other end that may be experiencing the same thing that you've been through or have gone through, they can get healed. That you're just helping them, So that's a amazing point. But what would you say to those who are even listening and considering to write their testimony down? What are some of the key things that kept you moving forward to not stop? I know it's 5 years, but besides that, what kept you going to say, I'm going to do this? I don't care how long it's going to take me. I want to do this.
Really, with writing the book, and really with any with anything that's given to you to do, it's remember the why. Remember why you're doing it. If you and where it came from. I mean, it's easy to stop on a project if it was just, I thought this was a good idea, and now maybe not so much. But when it's really on you, like when it's really on your heart, when it's that thing, like you can't really get a good night's sleep, or you're always dreaming about it, or you're always thinking about it, or it's always on your mind. To remember where that came from,
Yeah.
because it comes from a place of purpose. And having a place of purpose is what helps to push you through.
Yeah.
Those hard moments, like I said, yeah, it took 5 years. I had some really hard moments, but what helped me to get back on it was to remember what my purpose was in doing it.
Yeah.
It was to be in a place of complete healing, but it
Yeah.
was also to be in a place where it could help somebody else heal. There was a purpose greater than myself.
Right.
And so that's what helped to push through the the days where I was like, I just don't know what to write today. you know, that's what helped on days when I was like, girl, just write anything. Even if you're not on a book, go take some time and journal, like get some thoughts down. Go write down a song that you know, but do something
Yeah.
to reactivate whatever that was, whatever that why was. And that's definitely what helped me in every project to just keep going to completion. Because like I said, I graduated from pessimism with honors, procrastination with honors, like being down on myself and, wanting to wait till the last minute or not even wanting to do it. And then there was those moments where I had that anxiety or my depression would well up, and it was, all of those thoughts and overwhelming. But you have to remember what your purpose is. You have to, because that's what pushes you through.
Good. I love that. So with all of that you just said, what I really heard you saying is we can't be selfish. You can't be selfish because you chose your audience over you. Because you could have been like, you know what, this is just how it's going to end. This is just my life. Woe is me. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't. It's like, you know what? I have to be healed because one, it forced you to get healed,
Mm-hmm.
write the book.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
you had to go through that process. And all of these are choices. Nobody twisted your arm. I hope not, but I'll just say nobody twisted your arm to do that. So you had to choose purpose. You had to choose your healing. You had to choose to go through all of that to get to where you are. And this is just the beginning. It's amazing. You was like, man, so many things you're speaking at different events, but this is still just the beginning because you just said you're still writing. And you never know once you open that box in which you have, as far as being an author, being an entrepreneur and all those things, it never stops. There's no limit to that. You just keep growing, you keep evolving. So with that being said, with all of your books, your testimonies and the fictional books, who is your audience? Who is your target audience that you're really targeting for any of your writings? Is it just women? Is it just African American women? Is it just Christians? Who is that focal point for you?
My my target audience, honestly, is anyone who has ever been or is currently now in a broken state in their mind. And initially, like I said, writing the book as an African American Christian woman, that was initially my focus, because that's me. And so I wanted to speak to more people like me, whether you were an African American woman, whether you were a Christian woman. And so, because those were things that I was facing in my mind in that moment. And so, but the more I have, the more I've written, the more I've spoken, the different places I've been to, and it's really, God is just, my message is for anyone who's in that broken state, because the truth is that depression, anxiety, those kinds of things, it doesn't have a target audience. It doesn't have anybody that it can't reach.
Right.
Age-wise, demographic, the demographic is ridiculously wide. Age, gender,
Right.
sexual preference, it doesn't matter,
Mhm.
because we all have minds. We all go through traumatic experiences. We all have families. We all have friends. We all have people who have hurt us. We have people we've hurt.
Yeah.
And healing needs to take place in our minds first, no matter who we are. I tend to speak more to women's groups,
Mm.
or youth, is who I tend to speak more to. But again, God has started to open those doors to where it's anybody who wants to talk about mental health. And that's who we're going to talk to, and that's what we're going to talk about, which nowadays is really everybody.
That's so true. That's so true. So, just last question as we wrap up, and as your encouragement to those watching, what do you want to leave with the people? What do you want people to get from reading your books, and a little word of encouragement for them?
That being healed is a choice.
Mhm.
It's a choice. We can allow the things that have taken place in our lives
Mhm.
to kill us, or we can take those things and we can choose to live.
Yeah.
And so everything that I do, whether I write, whether I speak, whether I preach, whether I teach, whether we just have a conversation, at the end of the day, the choice is mine.
Mhm.
Whether if you say something that hurts me or offends me, I have a choice as to how I allow that to affect me the rest of my life.
Right.
Children have it a little bit more difficult, because there are a lot of choices that are made for them that they have no control over.
Mhm.
Um, but as the adults in their lives, we can make better choices on their behalf
Yeah.
and teach them how to choose life instead of choosing to just be a victim of circumstance. And like I
Right.
said, I know there are some ugly things that people experience. There are some hard things that you never want you or your family or friends to go through.
Right.
But coming out on the other side of that, if we recognize the fact that everybody don't come through,
Mhm.
everybody can't get through an abusive relationship.
Right.
Everybody doesn't make it through sexual assault. Everybody don't make it through a suicide attempt and able to share that story.
Right.
And so what you do with that is your choice.
Right.
If you choose to go to counseling, or you choose to be medicated, or you choose to be both, or you choose not to do anything, at the end of the day, our healing, whether or not we are healed, it's our choice.
Good. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. So where the most important question is, where can people go to one, follow you, and also to purchase your amazing books?
Okay. All of my books are available on Amazon. And then if you follow me on any platform, whether it's Facebook, I am on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. um, any of those platforms that you follow me on, you can actually order books directly from me if you want them signed. So you can always drop in my inbox or my DM. I also have a Not Perfect, Just Purpose Facebook page that you can also get on and message me for books as well. So all of those platforms are updated with the events that I participate in. It tells you how to get in contact with me if you would like for me to speak or do a training or whatever the case may be. So I'm available in all kinds of places.
Awesome, awesome. But thank you so much for taking time out of your life and your schedule to um, be with me and interview and just chat a little bit about your amazing books. And if you guys who are watching live and are on the replay, if you find yourself being encouraged by her testimony and words of encouragement, and you say, you know what, it's time for me to start my journey of writing. We would love to at Joseph's Ministry work with you, coach you to write your book, write your testimony or your book of any kind and publish that book for you. This is what we do. This is a part of our purpose, right? We help others get to their next level in their purpose. So if that is you, please, we would love to work with you and walk with you through the process. So you can even contact us at our website at www.josephsministryllc.com. And we look forward to working with you and hearing from you very soon. But Dante, thank you again so much for your time, your words of encouragement, your inspiration, and all of the above. Best of luck and blessings to you on your future endeavors. I know it's going to be great. So you're partners with us now, as you are one of our authors. But thank you so much for your time and all the awesome work that you're doing for other people. So
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So you guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you on our next author interview very soon. Have a good night. Bye-bye.